is going on, everybody? David thought he was going to be slick, but I have control, so he is not being seen right now because he's got some stupid plans. I don't know, but I didn't trust him. His video disappeared, so I had to bring it away because I don't trust him. Anyway, welcome to Let's Talk Fantasy Football. Andrew Faubert with a first comment. What's up, Andrew? This is Mr. 3-1 versus David and his lovely wife, Ash. Welcome to the show. David? We're going to go, I don't know, he's not there, so I'm going to wait until he puts his video up before I add him.
He was just here.
There he is. All right, then our co-host, Mr. 1-3 versus me himself.
I lost it. 1 minute and 30 seconds.
And he's gone again. All right, so back to the show. We're going to go ahead and talk about fantasy football this week and not David. Yeah. David beat me.
I knew I should have gotten Sean in here. I need some help from the production side. He has all the control. So how was your guys' week?
We're jumping right into it. The fantasy recap brought to you by Ash Swinton. Go ahead and tell them all how it was.
Alrighty. So, in the Let's Talk Football League, Andrew's here. Andrew still stinks. Way to go, bud. But, David, would you like to say who won this week?
There's a saying in our family that the Wright brothers we don't actually enjoy winning as much as we hate losing. So instead of telling you who won, I would just like to let everyone know who lost. Sydney, how was your week?
We're talking about losing, right? That's what you said?
Yeah, well, so I'm ceding the floor to you.
Mr. 3-1 versus David Wright. You've taken 3 L's to me, sir.
Keep cherry picking your stats, sir. You know what? I came prepared this week. Let's talk about stats. You know, there's only one stat that matters, and that is 5-0. For everybody out there, 5 times Sydney and I have been in a fantasy football league together. 5 times I have finished higher than he has.
I wonder what our head-to-head matchup total is.
Does it matter?
3-1 this year.
Does it matter? Yeah, You're 3-1, and I'm now first place in the Let's Talk Football League, and I'm struggling in the Jerry World League, but still way higher than you. So, you know, at the end of the day, Sydney, I win when it matters.
We'll see. It doesn't matter yet, sir. It doesn't matter yet. Playoffs haven't started in that league.
That was my Super Bowl.
It's like,
shutting you up was my Super Bowl.
Yeah, because you didn't want to see me 4-0 versus David Wright and sole possession of first place.
Back to me.
Right, yeah, I would have been real upset. I might not have come tonight.
Sydney beat David, which now means David's number 1 in the league, and then Sydney's number 2, and then it's Nathan Dalton, who I had made a comment about how he was he looked a little scary out there, and then it is John, Kyle, Janae, who started off strong and now is going down. Me in 8th place because I stink, but you know what? I'm beating Andrew and Alex, so I got that going for me. And then Delilah and Nick bringing up the back.
Poor Janae.
I would just like to say, though, that David is number 1. But do we want to talk about who has the most points for? Who has scored more points this year? It is David's number 1. And it is not – he did not beat number 2 in points for. He did not beat number 3 in points for. He did not beat number 4 in points for. He did not beat number 5 in points for. So he is first. But there are 4 other people in this league who have scored more points than him. I just want to point that out.
Yep. We got a lot of boom-bust teams over there who score 175 points one week and then absolutely crap their pants the next week. I've been very, very consistent across the board. I think I've only had 1 week over 150 points. But I also don't score less than like 115 very often. Very consistent. But much love to Janae because that poor woman had Brees Hall and Cooper Kupp. That's a bad time. Janae was absolutely balling out, and obviously injury risk is part of this thing we do, but that's tough, losing Brees Hall and Cooper Kupp.
Mm-hmm. She got really lucky with Brees Hall too, though. Like when you drafted him, you had no idea that Brees Hall was going to be what Brees Hall was when it first started. So that was luck anyway. But
I'll give you that.
If you lose those two, you're kind of, I don't even know who's on her team anymore, but she's not having a good time. Let's see what happened here this week. Nathan scored. He was the best team. He scored the most points. Janae scored the lowest amount of points. Nick left the most points on his bench. That's normally me. That's me all year. Dalton lost, but he was the highest points. That's sad. Dalton played Nathan. Dalton had 154 points. Nathan had 158. That's a tough loss when you score 150 points and still lose. Meanwhile, Delilah scored 89 points and beat me by 1 point. So someone who scored 89 points won, but someone who scored 154 lost. That's so sad.
You know, that's a great argument for the league median, which we can talk about on another episode.
Which I am in a league that has a league median. I still don't like it. But I took a L, but I also took a dub. Because I lost in my matchup, but won against the median.
The Sleeper app, actually, I don't know if you guys saw it, but they sent out a notification to everybody today asking for feedback to help improve the platform. And yes, I did not have Twitter until today. I did not have TikTok until 2 weeks ago when Sydney did his break. I actually downloaded and created a Twitter account just so I could go and tell Sleeper to please give us the option of controlling the scoring for the league median. You're welcome, guys.
Thanks.
John Linney makes me a little nervous in this league right now. He's had 2 really, really good weeks. I would love to beat him in the championship again.
I know David is shaking, quivering, quaking because he has to play this week. He's so scared.
Oh, so you played John. So that would be very unfortunate if you took an L to John and I beat Delilah, who is my matchup. And that old point
No.
score
I am playing the lady next to you, sir.
Oh, I thought you said you were playing John.
No, that's why
Oh,
he's a little worried about John doing good.
I was like, that would be unfortunate.
But that's why I said
I'm absolutely going to laugh my ass off.
Terrified to play me with no Najee.
I really hope you beat him, because if you beat him, I will then take first place back.
I scored 88 points this week. I am not beating anyone. My name, at the beginning of the season, my name was Fantasy Queen. My name is literally Fantasy Peasant because I'm so bad. It's not good.
I'm going to laugh my ass off if Delilah and Ash beat the 2 of us, Sid. I just am.
I'm not even going to make the playoffs. It's sad.
That's enough of this recap BS. So let's go ahead and move on to the report card, brought to you by David Wright. First off, shout out to the Tony Pollard coin stealers.
You know, CeeDee Lamb was a real travesty in that game, so I don't want to hear it. Lost my bet because that CeeDee Lamb touchdown was apparently not a touchdown. Pain.
That was pretty brutal.
Pain.
It would have been nice for a Pollard touchdown, though. Alex, right?
I didn't care about. I didn't bet Pollard. I told y'all to bet Pollard, and I didn't even go do it. Don't listen to me.
I'm more
Stevenson.
There.
The report card from last week was pretty cut and dried. I won the Thanksgiving food draft by a landslide.
You literally did it.
Not even close.
I tabulated all of the votes and all of the comments, all of which were from me and my various accounts, and I won.
I think based on the images used in the graphic, But Sydney definitely lost with his
You had to
KFC,
use the terrible images
mashed
because that's
potatoes,
how badly I
his Paw
dominated both
Patrol
of
mac and cheese,
Sydney took a lot of L's this
your
week. Damn.
turkey that looked like bologna. And what else? Oh, your apple pie from McDonald's, which those kind of slap. So you know what?
you. Even the bad pictures you found, you would eat, and I
Only that one.
dominated.
And you have to imagine the KFC mashed potatoes without the gravy.
Why didn't you have any gravy, Sid?
Because you decided to eat gravy with a spoon with nothing else, just because that's what you wanted.
I didn't even eat any gravy. Never touched it. Never had to.
Just sat it there in front of everybody and was like, haha, I have it, you don't. Oh my goodness.
And that's the report card.
Fair enough.
Unless you'd like to go line by line through Sydney and my matchup, we can do that.
Absolutely not. No one wants to do that.
Okay.
So on to the next segment, desperate times for desperate players and the waiver wire pickups, which there should be quite a few because there was a lot of injuries this week. You want to go ahead and start us off, David?
Where do you want to start?
Quarterbacks, if there are any.
All right.
If you want to say anything there.
My number one quarterback. It really depends on the makeup of your team. What you need. If you're streaming and you're in a good position and you can take some low point totals from your quarterback because you know you're going to make the playoffs and then you want to make a stronger push then. I really like Jimmy G. I actually picked him up in the league that I'm super quarterback needy because I was doing well in the standings and I can afford a loss or two. But over the next 2 weeks, I actually really like Jared Goff. 47%. That offense is absolutely rolling. They're going to be at home against Jacksonville and Minnesota over the next 2 weeks, and I think he's going to have some fun. I will leave my second waiver quarterback for Sydney to talk about.
Well, we have
so
a question.
chooses.
We have a question from the audience.
I'm going to jump the gun because I'm sure someone's going to talk about this already, but I like to ruin everything. Would you take all those guys over like Deshaun Watson?
So my second guy is Deshaun Watson, who I would take. And I mentioned him because he is available in the league we play on. So it says he's rostered in 59% of leagues. It's a little bit above the average of 50, but I think he's definitely viable as a pickup for sure. I don't even mind starting. If he had anybody else in the league, I think, okay, aside from like maybe two other teams, any other matchup besides the Houston Texans, I would say wait a week to see who he is. But I do think he is very viable to start this week just because it's Houston. Like if it was any other team, aside from maybe like the Bears and the Lions.
I'm real worried about that. A year and a half. It's been a year and a half. In the short term, I'm actually very hesitant to start him. I would much rather go with a Jimmy G, Jared Goff, Kenny Pickett, and wait and see what kind of shape he's in. However, it is Houston. But to your argument, it's Houston. I think Houston is going to be just as mad at him as he is at them. And I think that this.
What are the odds he gets to come back this game? I didn't even think about that.
Bro, they've been talking about that since they made the suspension.
I didn't even think about that. So much. I'm not a Deshaun Watson fan, but I am trying to pick him up in the league because my quarterback is Aaron Rodgers, and F that guy.
Yeah. The problem with that argument, David, is the talent level between the two teams. One is vastly better, and it's really not close.
Houston almost beat Philly. Like they gave them a good run, and then Philly pulled away at the end. They got up for that game, playing the undefeated team. Like I can definitely see the organization. Jeff Saturday took over the single worst offense in the league at that point. And that team got up. They pulled it together. It happens in sports. That's all I'm saying. I do not think that Houston is a talented defense. I do think that everybody in that organization could very well be pissed off at Deshaun Watson enough to make a game of it, and him being as rusty as he very well could be after a year and a half of not being on the field, this might not go his way. So I get where you're coming from, Sid, but I would definitely stay away from it this week. I do think that he has an opportunity to put up some very decent numbers going forward. I would not mind having him. The league I needed a quarterback, he was not available. So I would not mind having him for the playoffs over there. I would take him over Danny Dimes and Jimmy G and Lord help me for drafting Russell Wilson and sticking with him through 7 weeks. Wish I could have had me some Deshaun Watson over there, but I'm nervous for him this week. We'll see. Did you see that the lawyer of the women who accused him?
Yeah, he's bringing 11.
Is bringing the women to the game.
11 of them. Yep, will be at the game.
This thing is going to be a media circus, and there's absolutely zero chance, because he is a human being, there is zero chance that he is 100% focused on this game. If Houston, these his accusers are in the stands, I don't think that you can go into this game 100% focused and ready to be back. I just don't.
Wow.
It's fair enough.
I actually love that they're doing that.
Yeah, they said that even though he's back, we still have names and faces, and we were not going to be ignored.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a big thing.
Power, let's go.
We do have a couple questions.
Sean. Yeah,
Sean
that's some hecklers, Sean.
Sean said, is Mike White a viable option at quarterback? I think
we were actually just talking about this
Okay.
backstage. Do you want to go or do you want me to?
I can start.
I just have a question though. It's
Okay.
like Mike White. Are they like seriously benching Zach Wilson?
Did
like
you see how Mike White did?
the rest? Okay. I mean, Mac Jones got benched for Bailey Zappi, and then they were like,
That was in the middle of the game that
they're
Mac
like,
Jones
"We
started
proved the
and was
point.
hurt. No,
"We
there's a
proved
difference.
the point," and then they put Mac Jones back out there. I thought that's what this was going to be.
No,
but
it
maybe
was-
not. Mike White's not good. I won't listen to Mike White.
You
It's
can't
good.
ask a question, expecting a response, and then not let us respond.
Well, go now. I had a comment after my question. You can't expect me not to have a comment.
So there's a couple differences between the Mac Jones and the Zach Wilson situation.
Zach White.
Yeah. Basically, Mac Jones was hurt and then
Was he?
came back from an injury early, so they said, was playing bad, and so they benched him in the middle of the game. Bailey Zappi was never announced starter before the game.
Oh, okay.
Mike White was announced starter before the game because of poor play from Zach Wilson after being healthy, no injuries. That's the big difference there. They didn't. I don't think they spite benched Mac,
Yeah.
whereas they did. And then Mike White has balled out against bad defenses before. So to my answer to the question is, Mike White is viable against bad defenses, because I do think he's a talented quarterback when he has a favorable matchup. He's proven it more than once, but I would avoid it if he's going against anybody that's got a decent defense. There's a lot of talent on the Jets offense, so I'm okay starting him against a bad defense. He can make the throws.
Okay, so obviously we have
Jets
2 more
offense
weeks.
is a-
We have
I
2
can't
more weeks
stand
before most. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I just can't stand the Jets offense because they never know who they're gonna pick to be good or bench.
True. It's
Or
a
get hurt.
dysfunctional organization.
Yeah.
So we have 2 more weeks of regular season play. Then we have the fantasy playoffs. For the next 2 weeks, Mike White will be at Minnesota and at Buffalo. I'm taking a hard pass both weeks. If you wanted him for the fantasy playoffs, he's at home against Detroit and Jacksonville, and then goes to Seattle, where they will eat him alive. So, I mean, there's two weeks in there that he could be a viable option. However, we saw Mike White do this last year. I do not trust it. We see it a lot where there's a quarterback change for whatever reason, injury, poor play, whatever. The next quarterback comes in, and then they have some success in the short term because other teams do not have as much game film and as much material to prepare for that quarterback. There is a decent amount of film on Mike White from last year. He started out really hot. Everybody was talking about him, and then he absolutely face-planted. I very much see that happening again here. I do not think that the Jets believe in Mike White as much as they want to punish Zach Wilson for being a snotty little entitled. How that kid can sit in a press conference and say that he did not let the defense down. Grow up, own your mistakes, acknowledge how incredibly good your defense is, and thank them for keeping you in the game, even though you couldn't get it done. No, I do not like Zach Wilson's chances of being a successful quarterback for the Jets in the future. And Mike White, he's just, we need a quarterback, go out there.
And then the next question is Jets, Colts, any players on there that I should look out for?
Are you,
Putting on
as
the
far
pen.
as waivers from those two teams?
That's what it sound like. They play each other the next two games. Oh, wait.
No, Daniel Jones and Taylor Heineke, because
Oh.
the Washington plays the Giants, then it's a bye, and then they play the Giants again.
Danny Dimes all day.
I would take Danny Dimes. I think
Yep, I agree.
the Giants have a better defense, and Taylor Heineke will eventually do Taylor Heineke things.
I agree.
Yep.
Because this is what Taylor Heineke does. He gets you all pumped up. You beat some good, who you think are good teams, and then he just lets you down.
I actually went back and watched a little bit of the OG Let's Talk Football show from last night with Sean Spencer and Janae Struther. And Sean is even admitting that Taylor Heineke is not the guy. He's not that dude. He's not a starting quarterback. I do think that the Washington defense will give Daniel Jones problems. However, I think Danny Dimes could have a low-scoring game, but I think Taylor Heineke has a higher chance of turning the ball over and making huge mistakes because he's trying to be that guy against a divisional opponent. So I would avoid Heineke.
Yeah, I think I'm riding with Jones as well for his rushing ability. His legs give him a little boost for sure.
Yes, Sean. The Eagles are a good team.
Yep, they definitely got a lot of talent.
They are not elite. And yes, they are overrated because everybody in the NFC East is overrated.
How often do you listen to the advice on Sleeper/Yahoo apps? Babe, how often do you listen?
I listen a lot more than probably most people. I think a lot of times I'll just put, especially if I'm like, oh, I don't know, who should I play? I just do whoever's going to be projected more points. Where I get in trouble a lot of times is when I try to get cute and look at the matchups and just think, well, yeah, they scored 3 points last week, but look at their matchup this week. They're going to do much better, and then they don't. So I just try to listen to the projections most of the time, especially if I'm very unsure on what to do. So I listen to the advice a lot. Not saying that you shouldn't consider like other outside factors, but I mean, someone's getting paid to do that, so they know more than I do, I promise. Except for when they rank some people way higher than they should be. I'm questioning the people who sit there and rank players on the Sleeper app, especially tight ends. Why are we ranking them that way? That is all. Do you listen to the advice?
I definitely like to. I like the shotgun approach when it comes to any kind of rankings from any single source. I never rely on a single source. There are lots of great fantasy, shows, and you're watching one, and
So
experts and analysts who get paid to do this stuff. I definitely like to look at what everybody's saying, because generally there are more outliers than consensus. And if there is a consensus, then it's a pretty solid play going forward. But you also have to look at why there's a consensus, and then formulate your own opinion based on that coaching staff, that organization, that single player. I would definitely get as much information as you possibly can from as many different sources as you possibly can.
I will say, like, the one thing, like, if you're going to go pick up people on the waiver wires and you're going off those projected points, I would be careful, because sometimes those are, like, like Samaje was projected to score a lot, but I don't know. He's not worth, like, dropping someone on your bench if you didn't need him for more than a week, because now he's down to being projected, like, 5 points a game again. So sometimes when I go on the waivers, I'm like, geez, I'm not going to pick this guy up. I don't care that he's projected that much. He's not that good, at least for, like, long term, maybe for, like, 1 week. But, or if someone has a really, really good week, they all of a sudden jump up the waivers. But I would more look at what are they consistently doing. Like, if you pull up their game log and see how many points they've scored a game, instead of just looking at what they're projected for that week. Because a lot of those, especially like running backs, have like one good game, they shoot all the way to the top of the waiver, and it's like, they're not that good. So that's the only time I look at I don't really look at projections too much.
Yeah, and a lot of time when somebody shoots to the top of waivers like that, it's usually because we all drafted at the beginning of the season. Players get hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Players underperform, overperform. So being able to snag those players mid-season is generally what's going to win and or lose leagues. And yes, I agree. I think people get way overhyped on a lot of these guys. So use your best judgment. But while she's here, Nicole, I really want to thank you. I forgot to do this earlier. I think it was probably like 4 or 5 weeks ago. Nicole asked us during the show what our favorite gift to send when we finally beat someone was.
Oh my God.
Oh, what happened to David?
No, not again.
Nicole, I would love to thank you for asking that question, because it afforded me the opportunity to send Sid's favorite gift in the league chat.
You did do that.
After I
That was
beat him.
savage. That was savage. Now that I think about it. He definitely did do that.
I Shawshanked the hell out of him. It was beautiful.
That was hilarious.
Anyway, I'm so sorry. Proceed.
Ooh, juicy question. If you could draft coordinators, who would you draft?
Not Kellen Moore.
Kellen Moore, Canada, Cliff. Just kidding. Those will be on my do not draft list. The Fire Elmo was my favorite one.
I would draft Dan Campbell. Since
Campbell.
nobody said it, I got dibs on first.
Who'd you take?
Dan Campbell. Or not Dan Campbell. Dan Quinn. I said the wrong last name.
Oh, as
Dan
far as
Quinn.
coordinators?
Yeah.
That's a really good choice.
Offensive coordinators. I'm taking Dan.
She didn't
Quinn.
say offense
You
or
can't
defense. I already said it.
I'm taking. No, I'm taking Dan. Quinn.
Too late.
Offensive coordinators are so hard to judge.
I'll take
Because
Eric Bieniemy.
everything they do
Is
have-
Andy Reid the Chiefs' offensive coordinator?
exactly. That is
Is that
exactly what I'm
said?
saying.
Son of a. I'm forgetting Brian Dable.
Yep. 100% agree. Ken
Oh
Dorsey.
my God! You really took.
Defensive coordinators are, I think, a little easier to identify, because so many of the head coaches in the league are offensive. A lot of them call their own plays. Andy
He
Reid
really
over there.
shouldn't.
We have no idea what, if anything, Eric Bieniemy even does.
Yeah.
So, and then you've got all these young offensive coordinators who all just got head coaching jobs. Obviously McVay is a genius. Kingsbury, not so much.
Terrible. He should not be calling plays.
Wade Phillips, good Lord.
Was Jason Garrett?
I'm a Cowboys fan. I don't like
Jason
to talk
Garrett?
about Wade Phillips.
Oh my
Clapper.
god.
Hey,
I
he was one of
No, stop it. Don't speak.
he was great
This is
as
me
an
just
offensive
poking the
coordinator.
bear.
As an
No.
offensive coordinator, he
No.
was great.
No. No. We just there. That's my Jason Garrett impression. This is me as an offensive coordinator.
Oh my God! I just saw this video of Troy Aikman on the sideline, just
Oh.
absolutely, like every other word was bleeped out. He was livid. He went over to his offensive line and was yelling at him. He's like, "We can't block anybody. What the hell are you guys doing?" And then he's over there and he's talking to somebody you don't know who he's talking to, and he starts calling out the coaching staff. And he's like, "Why do we even have coaches if they're not going to address this? I'm sick of being the guy who has to, go off on everybody. I don't want to have to be this guy. We have people that are paid to do this job, and they're just, clapping and patting guys on the butts, even though they're not doing their job." And all I could think about was Jason Garrett. That was all I could think about. I was like, oh. He was probably talking to Jason Garrett on the sideline, too.
Yeah. A hot mess. Oh,
Oh.
I can't stand Jason Garrett. Every time Jason Garrett comes on the TV, I'm like, how does this man have a job? Why is he on my TV? Get him off of here, please. I'm sick of seeing him. He will never leave.
I will take Big Ben drawing up no huddle plays on the fly as my offensive coordinator. Please.
I'll take Romo. If we're going that way, I'll take Romo.
Yeah. You know, I
He
think it would be
can see the future.
Aaron Rodgers won't be an offensive coordinator, but can you imagine? I feel like it would be really good. He's very smart. I hate him, but he's very football smart.
All right, you want to keep going? We done with quarterbacks?
Yeah, we can jump to receivers.
Receivers?
No one is on the waiver wire pick still.
You want to take first?
I'm going to tell you right now, there is no one worth a dang on the waiver wires. You should just hope your team doesn't stink. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, I can go
Actually,
first.
I heard a really great opinion. And at first I was completely opposed to it. I was like, just stop. You're frustrated. I know. But as they went through the argument, it kind of grew on me to remove the tight end requirement. You can have tight ends that can be in your flex, but stop making us play them.
I would love that, honestly.
And when you look at the average scoring of tight ends this season and how it keeps dropping, there are a lot of teams out there that literally don't use a tight end as part of their offense.
I have
outside of blocking.
Yeah.
So I'm on the fence.
I would love to get rid of. I love that, actually. I would love
What
to
up,
get rid of
Anthony?
tight ends because it's literally Travis Kelce and everybody else. I mean, we say that all the time. It's Travis Kelce and everybody else. None of these tight ends are worth a damn. None of them. I'm playing the Eagles like third string tight end at this point. I don't even know who I'm playing. I'd rather not play. I mean, my tight ends are getting me 2-3 points, so why even bother? I can't stand them. Every once in a while, they'll have, like, I played Higbee, who's like tight end number 7, 0 points this week. That's tight end number 7 is getting you 0 points. Like, that's ridiculous.
Who?
And he didn't get hurt, Higbee.
Oh, yeah.
And I know the offense is a little
That's why.
messy, but a lot of times I feel like quarterbacks that come in that aren't like the starting quarterback, they lean on the tight ends, but I guess not. Not this guy. He hates him.
Thank you, Anthony. Anthony Handy, my man. So apparently we're supposed to say at some point that if you're watching right now, be sure to like, share, and subscribe.
Well, we're not good hosts, Anthony.
I put the comment up there, just left it. So
My man,
Anthony's
I didn't see
doing
it.
the promotion
I didn't see
for
it.
us.
All right. Who's your first wide receiver, Sid?
I'm going with the man, Mr. Zay Jones from Jacksonville. He appears to be Trevor Lawrence's favorite target, which makes me, as a Christian Kirk owner, very mad.
Yeah.
He just targeted him like every time it mattered. Yesterday's game, and I mean, he hasn't been terrible. 27, 14, 9. He's at a 24 game. He's at a 12-point game. He's at another 10-point game. So he's not.
That's not bad though.
I mean, he's also had a 6-point game, a 4-point game, and a 5-point game.
Like
So
everyone does that though.
But the last 2 weeks, he's at 14 and 27, 10 targets and 14 targets, which is massive. So it looks like they're building a connection, and that's who I would like to have.
So I'm definitely gonna piggyback on that, and I'm just gonna throw one more thing out there. So 37%. Zay Jones has been on waivers all year long. The one thing that made me nervous, and then it didn't make me nervous, was their schedule going forward. So they got Detroit and Tennessee over the next 2 weeks. Tennessee, you can throw the ball against them. Detroit, I'm so excited for that matchup. I mean, as long as their name is not DeAndre Swift, if you have somebody in this game, just start them. It's going to be fun. After that, however, we have Dallas, the Jets, and the Texans. And your first thought is going to be, I don't want to start a wide receiver against Dallas. I don't want to start a wide receiver against the Jets. You know, you got Trayvon over there and then Sauce Gardner. But what's that going to do?
That is going to take out Christian Kirk.
Yeah.
I think Zay Jones is about to absolutely just light up the wide receiver market. I'm sad because I don't have him anywhere. He was out there all year just staring at you. You know, he's usually
worth picking up.
He was always in like the top 10 waiver wide receivers available, and you're like, yeah, but I don't want him. Passed by him all year, and he might really finish this year strong. So Sid and I are 100% in agreement on that one.
Yep.
After Zay Jones, you know, there's a lot of buzz about Mac Hollins, and the only reason I would dip into that is over the next 2 weeks he is at home against the Chargers, and then he is going to the Los Angeles Rams. And I do think that he will get some work in there. He's only 30% owned.
I hate that team.
But my number two behind Zay Jones is, I'm torn on this, but I'm gonna go with Van Jefferson. And I know what you're thinking. Same reason you know Higbee face planted for you. That entire team is packing it in. Aaron Donald just faked an ankle injury because he's like, the hell am I going to be out here for if none of you are?
I should have retired.
But he's like, no, okay, let's all go on vacation.
Yeah,
that organization is packing it in. But they do have some young players that I think need to prove themselves to the team going forward. So even if the organization itself is not going to be trying to do much of anything, and they're not going to be competitive, I think there are some pieces on that offense that need to prove themselves going forward, and those guys are kind of intriguing to me. Matthew Stafford coming back and or not coming back will have a huge impact on that. But Van Jefferson, I think after the injury, really needing to solidify his role as the number 2 behind Cooper Kupp for next year, I can see Van Jefferson being a solid streamer over the next couple weeks. They're going to Seattle this week, so I definitely would not start him this week. But then they will be at home against the Raiders.
Does Seattle have like a defense that I'm missing out on here? Are they really good?
They're cornerbacks. They have 2 rookie cornerbacks that are balling out.
I don't pay attention to them. I don't like them. I don't feel like. No, I just don't pay attention to them, I guess.
The only other one I have is Richie James from the Giants. Not that he's like a great receiver or even has like a great schedule coming up. They play Washington the next couple weeks, and Washington's not the best against the pass, but they're not the worst either. The only thing about him is they don't really have much in New York. And so, like, he's going to get the ball strictly because there's nobody else there. Daniel Dimes looks for him in the end zone, it appears, or at least in the red zone. If you're desperate, that's the only reason I'm throwing his name out there. You got any other receivers?
Actually, I wanted to start with this because it actually has a lot to do with my waivers. So this week we have Arizona and Carolina on a bye. It's not going to affect too many people. We get the second coming of the bye-mageddon next week. Next week there's going to be a 6-team bye. A lot of what's available this week does not interest me. However, know your buys. Look at your matchup next week, the following week in week 14. Do not wait to go out and pick somebody up to fill in for somebody on your roster who's going to be on a bye, because with another 16 bye, half of your league is going to be doing that. So that's most of my waivers were over the next 2 weeks, focusing more on the week 14 matchups, because this week, all fine and great to get somebody for this week, but you are more than likely going to need somebody next week even more. The only other one I had out there was Nico Collins, 32%. His playoff schedule is Kansas City, Tennessee, and Jacksonville. And yes, that organization is a complete dumpster fire. They just went from, General Mills and Kyle Allen now.
Mm-hmm.
But he is what they have. And they do have a pretty weak schedule through the playoffs. So he is a viable option. That's all I got for wide receivers, though.
Fair enough. Any wide receivers there? You said no, there's nobody.
They stink.
Running backs?
Treylon Burks is available in the league. I might grab him, but...
Yeah. I'm actually real happy that he wasn't the only reason that I beat Sid this week.
I would have been so mad. I was real happy he wasn't either, because I would have been so mad.
Yeah, I was like, thank God we can just avoid that whole argument right there. I did pick up Treylon Burks in the Let's Talk Football League. I started Treylon Burks in the Let's Talk Football League against Sydney. And if anybody saw that 70-plus yard touchdown, oh, wait, it wasn't a touchdown, run from Derrick Henry, who fumbled the ball on the 1 yard line and traded and Burks fell on it.
You got free 6 points for that, so.
Yeah, but I beat you by more than
that.
so.
You did.
Derrick Henry lost
barely, but
2 bets because of that.
I'm torn on this one too, but I'm going to say that my number one this week for running backs is going to be Kyren Williams. Talked about him a few times. Obviously, the running back room in LA is Sean McVay likes playing with people's feelings. Most of all, he likes playing with the feelings of his running backs. He hates all of them, but apparently he loves Kyren Williams. Obviously, they packed it in. Their offensive line cannot block anything. Your number one quarterback, your number one wide receiver are both going to be gone for the rest of the year, most likely. He is somebody who's going to be playing for his future with that team. And while Van Jefferson is going to be relying on, who is it? Bryce. Help me out, Sid. Quarterback for the Rams?
Or Rams, Bryce Perkins.
Perkins, thank you. Kyren Williams is not going to be depending on him. That's more of a one-man show where he's going to be going out trying to show the coaching staff what he's made of for the rest of the year to try and be their number one running back for the future. So if you can go and get him, I very much like that pickup. He goes to Seattle. I'm sorry, he's at home against Seattle and then at home against the Raiders. And I think he'll have a couple decent weeks.
I got here. I'll just start at the top of mine. Zonovan Knight.
I was literally just gonna ask about him because so my brother had Elijah Mitchell, and then he was trying to ask me like who should I get, and we were talking about him and Kyron Williams. So it's funny I thought those are the two.
That's why I was torn. I just really wanted to say his name because he's got a cool last name. All right.
Zonovan Knight. With the healthy scratch of James Robinson, and
Pain.
the fact that the Jets don't think Michael Carter's the guy for obvious reasons, drafting Breece Hall in the second round, trading for James Robinson. So they're obviously trying to
Also pain.
find help. He didn't look terrible in his basically debut. So I don't mind him going forward. Do you want me to give you another one, or do you want one more? Or do you want to go? I got a couple actually.
Would you take him over?
See,
Kyron?
I would, yeah, personally.
over
Not a
Kyron
fan.
Williams.
I'm not a fan of Kyron
I'm not a
Williams.
huge fan of Kyron Williams either, just because Akers is there too, and they don't. Sometimes they decide to like him, and then other times they decide to hate him, and it's where that I feel like it's just him at this point. I don't know. Though the Jets are weird too.
If Michael Carter doesn't play, I agree. I think Zonovan Knight will probably have the bigger week. The other thing that I really loved when I went and looked at Knight was that he split his points between rushing and passing. So he's going to be involved in the passing game, and that definitely gives him the edge over Kyron Williams because the Rams are not going to have a very successful passing attack at any level. But I do think that's dependent on Michael Carter, whereas Kyron, I think, has the clearer path to more opportunities. So that's my take on that. You can go again though.
Watch Najee because if he's out, Benny Snell looked
3
very
for
good.
3.
Benny Snell looks very good running the football.
I mean, is that like a sustainable thing?
I think so.
Because he didn't look good previous.
It
He's
doesn't
had
matter.
flashes. And
I
I
don't
agree,
think
it
it
doesn't
matters. I'm just saying, sorry. I don't think it matters who starts at running back. Pittsburgh is going to run the ball.
But Benny Snell stinks.
He didn't look bad against him.
He looked real good last night
He's fine.
against a good defense. So, yeesh.
Have you
It-
watched
but
him any other
again-
time in your life?
No, as a Steelers fan, I've never watched Benny Snell. Yes, he's had flashes before. He's also had rough patches.
Yeah.
But last year, offensive line was much worse than this year's
and
offensive
is
line.
Warren out for like a while, or is like he gonna come back in like a week? Or...
Warren won't be the full-time starter if Najee's out. I think Benny Snell gets it over Warren. If
But
If-
Warren,
if
like,
Najee
Benny Snell
does
wasn't
not-
even playing when Najee was playing.
He
It was
was. He was
Najee
their
and
string.
Warren, wasn't it?
yeah, and Benny was behind Warren, but they're both
So now you
injured
think Benny just jumps? Oh, because
because they're
Warren's
both injured.
Okay.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
think Benny gets the bulk of the work
I don't know
so-
how serious Warren's injury is. I guess I haven't really
just because of
known.
injury. I love Warren. I think he's played great when he's had the opportunity. I'm just worried about his injury, and he's a little guy.
Mhm.
Little guys don't bounce back quick from injuries, or they have to be 100% healthy before they come back, usually, just because they're little.
So I was going to say, so if Najee does not play and both Warren and Snell play, you would take Snell.
I would start Snell over Warren
At least
Okay.
this week.
And
This week
if
coming up.
If Najee does come back, would
I
you
don't
even
start anybody
bother?
except Najee.
Would you even bother with a roster spot holding the other two?
No, because Najee's never missed a game in his career. He hasn't missed a game due to injury yet.
I wish
So
he
if-
had missed it. Well, Najee owners wish that he would have missed a few games this year.
Sure, for sure, but he
Might as
hasn't.
well
So
not.
I'm not gonna assume that he's gonna get hurt or
Yeah.
come out or give up touches. If he's gonna play, I think he's gonna play.
Okay.
In my opinion.
So if Najee plays this week, you wouldn't even bother rostering the other two.
Unless I'm a Najee owner, unless I have Najee, I wouldn't. If I have Najee or I have an empty spot, I wouldn't mind just stashing Benny just to see.
And if you're a Najee owner, you would take Benny over Jalen Warren.
Yes, right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
think it's like a Mixon situation. Like if Mixon was gonna play, I never would have picked up Samaje, but since Mixon was out, I picked him up. But then I immediately like dropped him again. Like I'm not gonna do that again. So
Right.
I like it.
You wish, but he didn't.
Sean said, "I wish Najee would have missed the fantasy championship game last year."
Still
Oh,
salty.
man.
You got any more? I got a couple more I wanted to mention.
Just two. Michael Hasty, if ATN can't go, and then as a CMC owner, I'll let you talk about that one.
Yeah, JaMychal Hasty, I agree.
Is Etienne gonna be out?
I don't think he's gonna be out. I was gonna say I
okay.
don't think Etienne's gonna miss any time though, so I wouldn't bank on JaMychal Hasty. But he's definitely
That's stash in case, just like a Benny Snell.
if you have Etienne,
Jaylen
definitely
Warren.
get him.
I ain't got enough bench spots for all these fools.
Go ahead and make some decisions.
Because I mean,
Go
we'll know by the time game time comes. But as far as waivers go,
You gotta wait until they put as they rule Etienne out, and then you gotta move Etienne quickly to your IR spot, and then you gotta pick up Hasty really fast and put him in. Do they play in the morning?
I don't know.
Because that matters.
Yes.
It's better if they play in the morning because you can move faster. When it's in between games, it gets a little messy because you can't move your roster around as much.
Yeah. Jacksonville. Wait. Yeah, it's at 1 o'clock.
Yeah, so you just gotta keep your eyes out in the morning. Perf. Love that.
And then the last one, obviously, since Christian McCaffrey is questionable, Elijah Mitchell's out. Jordan Mason is the next man up.
Christian McCaffrey's questionable? Gosh, where have I been?
I don't know.
I was so high on Thursday's win, I just blacked out everything else that happened. I won all my money on Thursday and then was just losing money on Sunday, and I just gave up paying attention.
Yeah, it was like knee soreness. It wasn't an injury.
Mm-hmm.
There, from everything that I heard today, it kind of has some of the hallmarks of possibly like tendonitis, kind of a lingering pain issue.
Yeah.
It wasn't something that happened during the game, from what I read and listened to today. So
Shocking.
well, yeah, after the beating that man's taken.
Any other?
That's probably something he's gonna play through.
Most likely. Every
Especially
report
if
is he's gonna play
Elijah
through.
Mitchell's out and they don't really have anybody else. They're good. What's Elijah Mitchell's gonna be out for a while, isn't he?
6 to 8. He's back on IR.
He's done. He's done for the fantasy season.
That's
Mhm.
well, I mean, how many weeks are left?
2 regular, 3 fantasy.
You say he won't be back even for unless they make a deep run in the playoffs.
And obviously, if they're saying that Mixon's expected to clear the protocol, but if he does not, they got Kansas City this week, and P. Ryan is definitely top of this list if for some reason Mixon does not clear the protocol. So if you already had him, maybe hold on to him unless you need the roster spot. But
Sean has. Oh, good.
I was saying they expect him back.
You should have just drafted the Cowboys defense because that is a much more viable option, Sean.
It's not the question he asked, but
Stop jumping the sheets, Sean. We're going to tight ends next, and then defenses after that.
okay.
I'm making every league I do next year non-tight end. David took away my special teams and my kicker.
So you're gonna do exactly what you hate David for.
Yep. Take away tight ends. I hate them.
So you want to create a league with no tight ends, no kickers, no defense?
So can I. No, I'm going to have a kicker and a defense. You calm down.
Did you know that in the Jury World League, the highest scoring players every week are kickers?
Really?
Yeah. They get 100 points for a made field goal.
Nice.
You just can't roster them.
Yeah. That's so stupid. I'm gonna start telling you what kicker I pick and how many points they should have got, and make you go in and commish and change my points. So I can, let me start a kicker in my tight end slot.
You got any tight ends?
I desperately.
Obviously. Oh, does Ash have any?
I played the Browns' second string tight end this week because I have nobody ever since Zach Ertz got hurt. It's been nothing but pain. I don't know who to play anymore. I think I got Bob Tonyan. I'm just gonna hope that works for me. I don't know. I give up.
So I can pick up a kicker in Jerry World. I just can't start him.
No! I'm gonna drop everyone and just pick up kickers. I'm just kidding. That's the league I'm doing the best in, and I hate that league, but here we are. He has the Dallas defense. See? He's talking crap. For nothing. I don't know Washington's defense. They play the Eagles because you guys are going on a bye next week. If you want them for more than a week.
Washington.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just a streaming option, right? That's for this
They
week.
play the
Yeah.
Giants.
Yeah,
Giants.
I think they're a viable option for sure. The Giants' offense is not very talented.
I have
don't know
three
if you were asking me
defenses.
to-
Three defenses that I really, really like this week, and Washington is one of them, Sean. I actually picked Washington up in the Let's Talk Football League this week, and they helped me to beat Sydney. I might be keeping them for this next week, depending on who else is out there. But, I mean, the other two, obviously, one of the more successful trends this year was to just stream the defense playing Houston. Well, folks, we have a new one, and that is streaming whatever defense happens to be playing the Los Angeles Rams. So you got Seattle at the Rams, and you got Cleveland at Houston. I think both of those defenses should have a decent day. I like Seattle on this list at the top because I think their turnovers with second, third, and fourth stringers at half the offensive positions for the Rams, I think they have a very high chance of sacks, interceptions, fumbles, touchdowns, and that's how you're going to score points with a defense. So I like the Seahawks. They are rostered. I looked at it earlier. I think it was single digits. But yes, Washington would be number 3 on my list, Sean.
I would switch out number 3, the Washington, for the Packers defense. They play.
I'm nervous about that, and the only reason
Bears.
Chicago, it's the Bears. The only reason they were not on my list, Sid actually told me right before the show that apparently Aaron Rodgers, all of his tests came back clean, and he's good to go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if Aaron Rodgers did not play in that game, I did not want their defense. That was the only reason. So that's a very good call, Sid. And he informed me before the show.
Any fun tight ends to pick up?
Only one. I mean, Foster Moreau's still available out there, but I think that's iffy. It's very iffy. There are other weapons in that offense. However, his snap percentage, I think he's played every single offensive snap for like 2 games. So he's on the field. He's an every down tight end. Like most tight ends, he's going to be touchdown dependent. If he's out there and you need a tight end, go for it. I don't hate that at all. But if you're looking ahead, we were actually talking about this, I think, last week when we were all watching the games. The number 1 wide receiver schedule was the Jets, I believe it was. But none of us trusted Zach Wilson. So it's like, okay, that does nothing for you.
Mm-hmm.
Conklin, 18% owned. They get Minnesota and Buffalo over the next 2 weeks. If you can wait and stash him, he's going to get at home against Detroit and Jacksonville, and then he's going to be going to Seattle. And for all of the credit Seattle's defense gets with their rookie quarterbacks and their ability to shut down the passing game, they are very, very weak against tight ends. So Conklin has 3 great matchups throughout the fantasy playoffs. So if you need a tight end, go get him. That's what I got.
Only other one I would add is Jelani Woods.
Yeah.
He's had flashes, but
Yeah.
tight ends are hard to come by.
And go ahead.
I was going to say, if he finally had his rookie breakout game, and now he's going to be like somebody that Matt Ryan looks for, he's definitely an option. He's like 6'7", so.
And every pass in that second half seemed like it was going to a tight end. I needed Michael Pittman to score to beat you.
Mm-hmm.
And he just kept throwing to the tight ends.
Mm-hmm.
And Paris Campbell was a complete no-show. So do you think that is a transition the offense is making now under the Jeff Saturday regime, wherein we've already seen it. Matt Ryan back under center, targeting your number one wide receiver more than anybody, and running the damn football because you have one of the most talented running backs in the league.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like Jeff Saturday just brought the KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid. Like nobody understood what the Colts were doing all year, and Jeff Saturday walks in and he's like, "Okay, we've all been doing this our whole lives, so let's go back to basics." So, do you think Paris Campbell takes a dive in favor of tight end targets?
It's tough. I just don't trust really much on that offense outside of Pittman and Jonathan Taylor. I guess the next person I would trust is probably the tight end. But the problem is it might be Mo Alley Cox next week. Yeah, exactly. So I just threw his name out there because he had a great week. And he's a rookie. So if this was his breakout game and he goes off next week, I wanted to be like, I said that.
No, and I like it. You actually talked about him a couple weeks back, and I'm very so. What do you think? At this point, I'm selling everything in that offense except for, like you said, Taylor and Pittman. But you would go with Woods as your number 3, and maybe just kind of let go of the Paris Campbell idea.
Yeah, if you had like Zach Ertz. And now you've been trying to find a tight end the last 2 weeks, and he's out there. I think he's better than Trey McBride or Jack Stoll, that's who I tried to pick up.
Jack Stoll stinks. I tried to pick him up too, and it's not worth it. Right.
Him and Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert went down and most people that had them didn't have a backup tight end because why would you? Like, if those are going to be your guys. So you're trying to stream tight ends the last couple of weeks. They've been hard to find. So that's the reason I say his name, just because if they're going to start looking his way, literally 4 targets is going to be more than anything else you're going to find. So might as well take what you can get.
Yeah, ever since Zach Ertz got hurt, I've played Mo Alley Cox. I've played Bryant. I have Jack Stoll. It's rough. So anyone you can find that's going to touch the ball, take it.
Yeah, tight end is rough, man. Mm-hmm. I want to go 20%. Isaiah Likely is at 20%. Baltimore was another one of those teams, like the Jets, who had a very favorable schedule going forward for pass catchers. So if you're in that area where you need a tight end, he's out. He was out this last week.
And Oliver had a great game.
I'm looking at it right now because honestly, I skipped over it. But you're making a great point if you are in that that tight end market because you had one of these guys and didn't have a backup. Likely is talented, and Andrews has not looked the same since the initial injury.
Lamar.
What's up?
I said him or Lamar.
Considering Mark Andrews dropped a touchdown in his hands, I'm going to go with Mark Andrews. And I think it was 2. I think it was 2. There's actually a guy out there that I like to listen to on Tuesdays, and he literally goes through every unrealized scoring passing play from the week. And I believe that Lamar Jackson's pass catchers dropped 2 touchdowns this week. Much like George Pickens.
So did Deontay Johnson. So Kenny Pickett had 2.
I mean, the Deontay one wasn't that bad. Pickens,
It hit him in the hands. I mean,
Yeah,
Pickens.
as he was getting lit up.
Sure,
in
but
the air,
Pickens was
getting
one
lit up.
hand.
Overthrown.
One was one-handed, overthrown. One
I would
was
say I
hit his hands.
As the
Sure.
defenders lighten him up.
Sure, but hit his hands.
I like-
I'd take 2 hands on the ball versus 1.
yeah, that was over. I think that one was overthrown, wasn't it?
And honestly, I'll bet you if you switched them, they both would have caught the pass because Pickens would have gone up. I mean, no defenders knocking the ball out when Pickens gets 2 hands going straight up. Like,
I
he would have
agree.
caught that one. I feel like he got a little too cute and tried to one-hand it back to himself. But,
Deontay
it's not like it
caught the
cost
ball
me.
and ran out of the end zone because he didn't want the touchdown
Yeah,
and danced around a little bit and then lost yards. Deontay is
So
looking
much anger.
rough. I've tried to defend that man, but I can't do it anymore. He looks not good.
You missed Chase Claypool, buddy?
No. Well, Claypool would at least catch the ball that hit him in the hands.
Well, down here, if it came down here,
As long as
if he had to go like this, never would catch it.
If it hit him in the hands, he would catch it. A lot of times it hit him in the stomach, and he didn't catch those on the jump balls. But at least when it hit him in the hands, he caught it. Deontay, it hits him in the hands all the time, and he drops it. So
Or he catches it and runs backwards.
I love that Pickens is now taking over the Claypool jump ball because he catches those. Now, if Claypool would take over Deontay's slant routes and little comebacks, Claypool would catch those. So, yes, I do miss him, and I would love Deontay to be gone. But I digress.
There we are.
I think that's it for that. I can run this one real quick just to see if there's anybody out there that might have another. I just threw it up there. Any questions? Feel free to drop them in the chat. But I feel like we already answered most of them as they came through. David, did you have anything else you wanted to go over?
I have a lot that I would like to say,
Oh, jeez. I'm too
but
tired.
I won't. I won't. It's okay. It's okay.
I'm tired. I'm still trying to catch up from sleep from Sunday when you guys were
I'm
screaming at
so
each other
sorry.
about Aaron Rodgers for an hour.
Sean, you want a debate show?
Oh, no, you don't.
Just put a camera on me and
No,
David
you
after we've
don't.
had a few shots.
Oh, my God. It was so...
A few shots and either, I think Aaron Rodgers or Dak Prescott might be the two most argued topics
Sydney
between
would
the two of us.
be arguing for Dak, and David would be arguing against.
I'd be in favor of both quarterbacks. David would be against both quarterbacks.
It was sure something. I'll tell you.
Yeah. It was
my
a solid debate. And Ash, I am really, really sorry though because, I know it was late
I had to work in the morning.
and we were so loud.
It
Like
was
I know we were
so-
loud because the next day, I was like, oh god,
My back hurt from
Like,
screaming.
am I getting sick? Oh no, that's right. I had a 1 hour screaming debate with Sydney. Yeah.
He said,
Oh,
"Let's go."
yeah,
I'm
it's
telling you.
not. They would
Pure
have to have,
entertain. If we would have went live,
you would think
Would've got
the
rowdy.
funny thing about you guys arguing though is like you would think they hate each other. Like you would
Yeah.
You would think they hate each other and the friendship is over and they're never going to speak to each other again the way they scream at each other. And then they probably like hugged it out and David went home. Like, I don't like, and then look at them now. That's the most ridiculous thing. Never in my life. I get pissy and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I'm out of here.
Ash gets mad at the loud yelling.
Yeah,
I think
don't
she takes it
scream at
personal.
me.
Which is usually me because the
No,
more
it
I
was me.
drink,
Well,
Well, no, City was. I'm like, quit screaming.
it's because I can't scream at David and then talk to you.
Yeah.
Like in the middle.
She's,
Like there's just no
screaming
shot.
and like doing this and like screaming at me. I'm like, stop screaming at me.
And that's more of like my hands
I
like
just
going.
want to
Like,
say
that
one
was-
thing and then move on.
And Ash gets mad at
I
the
was
yelling.
just trying to make one point, and then I didn't want to argue what you guys are arguing. I just wanted to make a point and then move on. And you just kept screaming at me, and I'm like, I can't do this.
Exactly, Sean.
That's exactly it.
yes, thank you. I'm glad you saw that.
All right,
100%.
real quick, 2 questions. Nicole said, "Are you guys going to doing the thing for the Bucks and Saints game coming up? Is that the Sunday night game? Because if so, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll be on for this one, Nicole. I'll
Join me
most
in those comments, Nicole. I'll be there.
So we should be good for Sunday games going forward, unless maybe the week of.
Christmas. We maybe we might be able to do.
I don't know
Christmas
when
game.
we're doing Hanukkah, but something.
It's
The
Friday.
only reason we didn't do this last week's game is because my daughter's birthday was on Sunday, and we had just gotten back from Vegas the night before, so it was
Long day.
yeah. And we had David screaming and Sydney screaming, so thank God we didn't go live.
It's just how we talk, okay?
No,
Especially after drinking.
especially drinking.
Our love language is screaming.
Yeah,
About football.
Seriously.
And then we do have a question. Super Squash 33 said, "Should I do Chase and Mostert for Watson and ETN? Which Jamar Chase?
I mean,
I would not.
I wouldn't.
I would 100%. They're both
You would
hurt. We
trade-
don't know.
What?
Do you think Chase comes back 100%
Yeah.
to be able to make a
Do you think-
fantasy impact?
do you
That's
think
that's
Watson-
really the question.
Do you think Watson comes back to make a fantasy impact, or do you think he's a wash here?
I
You
just
think
like ATN. I like ATN over everything else there. It is Jamar Chase.
I would stay on the Jamar.
And is that
Mostert side of
Christian Watson or is that? I read that as Christian
Oh.
Watson the first time.
Oh.
If it's Christian Watson, I
I
like
read it as
So
Deshaun Watson.
did I. If it's Christian Watson, I actually like that. I would do it.
If
Yeah,
that's-
is that Christian or Deshaun?
Yeah.
I totally just went Deshaun, I think, because we were talking about him earlier. It would make more sense if it was Christian Watson. Yeah,
It's Christian
okay,
Watson.
I would do it then.
Christian
So,
Watson and
yes.
Travis Etienne, 100%.
So that check makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know if I trust Deshaun Watson, but yes,
Yeah, I would do that.
Because ETN is miles ahead of Mostert
Mhm.
relevance wise. Jamar Chase is over Christian Watson, I think, but yeah,
The health issue, it may take Jamar another week, maybe 2, to look like his old self. And if those 2 weeks cost you getting into the fantasy playoffs,
Your Watson's on.
I would
fire.
have rather had Christian Watson who's balling.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree.
And
Yeah.
you know Aaron Rodgers is coming back and he's not like seriously hurt, so
Thank you, Super Squash.
Yes, sir. All right, I think that's it. Anything else, guys?
Just one.
I'm tired. Oh,
All right, guys.
gee. It's weird how David keeps cutting out today.
I know he's had real
I know.
connectivity issues over there.
Are you
On
having are you
We'll have to get him fixed up.
camera okay? What's happening over there?
all right, guys. Check us out Sunday night. Me and Ash will be doing Swinton's Unfiltered halftime of the
You
night
know who
show.
Plays?
The Bucks and the Saints. Nicole
Oh, that's
just
not
said
who
it.
plays.
Oh, I thought that's what Nicole
That
was
must be
talking about.
next week.
Oh, so it's the Cowboys.
Yes.
If you guys want a very entertaining, and I'm talking very entertaining episode, it'll be this one because watching Ash watch the Cowboys is the most entertaining thing you can do.
It doesn't matter if we're doing good, if we're doing bad.
It's
Either
just
way,
the best
I'm all in one. Most of the
at
time.
all times.
That's the real reason that I come to your house every week.
Yeah, I
Just to let
don't
you
blame you.
scream.
Just to watch Ash watch the Cowboys. It's a great time. If David decides to stay late, he can jump on with us. If not, catch us.
That might be worth quitting my job for. I don't know. I'll think about it.
If not, catch David with us next week, right here, same time, Tuesday night for fantasy. It'll be the last week of the season, regular season, right? Yeah.
Yep.
The next week will be the last week of regular fantasy football season. Don't want to miss that one.
After that, I stink.
But yeah, we're out of here. Thanks, guys.
Go Cowboys.
Peace.